on computer-aided geometric design, a text that I received just recently from Taiwan. And I'm going through the scripts, and I am trying to convert all the Rhino script syntax into Rhino geometry at RG, and I ran into my first problem. Does anyone know the equivalent to RC, Rhino list? Uh, Basically, that's where I think it is. Um, that's not exactly what I wanted to type, but basically, do they know the equivalent of writing RSF range as the start step stop step in Rhino uh, uh, common, which I think is actually rc.rhino list, possibly using well, you could use the full Rhino collections, or you could I put it in down here, and I've just been struggling with that. So if anybody wants to help me out, the rest of the script is pretty dead simple. It's just I put it upside down just to view it. So I've got to turn it like I'm flying an airplane. But either way, it's an interesting script. Here it is, the red. Stop and take a look in the Python script, and there it is. You can skip all this, but basically making a list, an iteration through the method of Rhino script syntax, which I'm trying to avoid as much as I possibly can. I just can't find what the Rhino collections or the Rhino geometry is. And I think it, like I said, I think it's tied to Rhino list get type, but just can't figure out how to get it to work. I wanted to work a float, basically. I don't want to have a range. The range works the same in both, but yeah, if you want to have something with a decimal, I guess you put it in here. Maybe I'm running into problems with this, and maybe that was all it was. No, I haven't set the decimals, so a double or a float. Anyway, it is interesting to see that the maths are being imported, and they're importing maths as M, not as math. So you just type M, and you get your sine and cosine, and you're basically making your points, and you're appending those points. So with this system, it's basically a helix. The only reason mine jogs over is I multiplied I by 2, and I could change that up in a variety of wonderful things. Not sure where it's going to go if I run it as 3, but there you go. Well, yeah, I should have guessed. It's going to split it into 3 patterns, and so you get a really cool geometry of what you can gather. The only other thing I did that was of interest was it is pretty parametric in a sense that I tied my float start to my float step by dividing it by 10, so I could actually slide that through this slider and get some pretty cool geometries. And actually, that's kind of nice for making a little tiny animation, which is what I'm starting to do. Take the cool scripts and turn them into GIFs. That way, they're a data visualization that makes this exciting. And put that in the Follogram, put that into some other program. That's fine. I have a domain that starts at 0.1 and goes to 10. What that has an influence on is takes a little bit, but it's basically the range of the jittered radius of my spheres, mesh spheres that I put on there, so it will go fast. And I just wanted to have them out of order. The jitter I followed down here, and the seed I actually just seeded to one of the colors. So as you do that, you'll change up the patterns because you're changing that. Actually, I thought you would, but I'm just playing with the colors. And then I have a setting from the jitter. If I want it to jitter very little, I put it at 0. If I want it to jitter max, I put it up at 1. So depending on what geometry you like, I really do like running my ranges in. I had to be a little wise with the amount of meshes that were coming out. If I have 991 meshes, I certainly want 991 colors. So I threw that into a little node here, and it's, I don't use much of these display things, but I guess I'm getting into it, color RGB. And then just, this is strange that the final display, I guess you just have to know because it's a tag that it's a display item. Anyway, I do like the geometries. I like what I've ended up making. I like the animation, this kind of tower. My wife likes it, so that's more important than anything. She does AR Spark, and she's a developer long before me. But very nice little code, and let's just run it through for a little happy. And I've started to put these scripts up on GitHub, so if you're interested, I'll just type in down here. All scripts that I have are going on GitHub at M. Wickerson, and you'll find this one under the Python scripts. And I've changed them and tried to make them mine. I don't know how much somebody can own a double helix, but I sure would like somebody to reach out to me on our forum and tell me this, because I think in looking for it, that's the best thing to be doing, is looking for it on your Rhino developer API in Rhino Common, because sooner or later you're going to find it. And I just have been trying to get it down that I don't import. It would be great if I could just import Rhino and I'd be done, but the Rhino script syntax does have a different language. And for those that are taking the coursework that I've been doing up in Michigan, I have this great course that I've been doing up there. That's all Rhino script syntax tied into the Python editor in the Rhino window under the tools. So I go in here and I grab my Python script editor, and you can see here, I think I'm importing mainly Rhino script syntax in almost everything I'm doing to learn that program. That's not my script, but that's how I'm learning Rhino script syntax. The trick is I just don't have courses like this set up to teach me Rhino Common. I think that's just a painstaking struggle to go into your API, Rhino Common, and let me just jog back one. Yeah, it's just that task of going into here, getting into the APIs, going to your Rhino com, and trying to figure out what everything does. Of course, I'm staying pretty tight to Rhino geometry, but look at all the other namespaces, and that's where I came across this one, collections, and then I realized, hey, what's going on in here? What's the Rhino list class do? And I started tracking down stuff in here in Rhino list methods, and I was going through saying, what is going on? And yeah, I'm getting lost a little bit in neighbors and stuff like that. Anyway, anywho, that's the game. That's the piece. So let's just end with a little tiny slow animation that makes this kind of fun. And you can always take these out in your top desk file and make a cool animation, speed it up and play with the speeds. You can do that in Photoshop or a suite in Photoshop if you have it. But this is the one I like playing with. And I'll just go online and put it into a GIF like I've been doing. Very slow, but a cool little script. And if you leave some baked geometries in there, you can make some really cool stuff and ghost some forms over top of it. So I never thought I'd go to animation and film and things like that, but there certainly is an application of this. I believe that the future is not my students and my kids playing with computers sitting in front of them. I think it's about using the analysis and coding skills that come with that in order to have employment and have jobs in the future. So if anybody's interested in having me remotely associated with any one of their businesses or schools, I'm very excited to preach and teach everything I've been giving away for free. It might be nice to have a virtual tour around the world. Thanks very much for watching.